Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking you somewhere ancient, into the often wild landscapes of East Anglia.
Yeah, a place where old legends really linger.
Exactly. And our focus for you today is Black Shuck. You know, this monstrous spectral hound. It's haunted these areas for centuries.
Right, and it's fascinating because it's seen as both this terrifying omen of death, but also sometimes weirdly as a kind of protector.
It's such a contradiction, isn't it? So we're going to try and unravel that story, look at its pagan roots, Christian influences, bits of history.
And even how the landscape itself plays a part. It's a really complex tapestry.
Okay, so let's jump in. Where does the name even come from, Shuck?
Well, Shuck probably derives from skuka. That's Old English for demon.
Okay, makes sense.
Or it might just be a local dialect word for shaggy. But the earliest mentions, they're really chilling.
Like the Peterborough Chronicle.
Exactly, 1127. The monks there wrote about a wild hunt. They describe huge black hounds, hideous and broad-eyed.
Wow, so this goes way back, even before the name Shuck was common, perhaps.
It seems so. It connects straight to older pagan ideas. Think Norse mythology, like Garmr, the guardian of Helheim, or Odin's wild hunt with spectral hounds.
So not just a monster, but maybe something more. Elemental. A psychopomp.
That's a good way to put it. A guide for souls, maybe? Patrolling those, borderlands between worlds.
And the description, always massive.
Oh, yeah. Colossal.
Yeah.
Jet black, matted coat. But the defining feature, the thing everyone mentions.
The eyes.
The eyes, glowing like fire. Sometimes described as just one single huge cyclopean eye.
Ugh.
And it moves silently. Just appears. Brings this awful dread with it. Sometimes even the smell like sulfur. It's pure nightmare fuel.
Absolutely. But then you get this specific event in 1577 that seems to really lock it into local history. That sounds pivotal.
It really was. August 4th, 1577. This was late Tudor England, remember? Lots of religious tension and anxiety.
Right.
And this massive storm hit Suffolk. In Bungay, St. Mary's Church, during the tempest, witnesses reported a black dog, or the devil in such a likeness, actually materializing inside the church.
Inside, during the service.
Yeah. Abraham Fleming wrote about it right after in a pamphlet, A Strange and Terrible Wonder. He said it killed two people by wringing their necks backwards.
Oh.
And another person was supposedly shriveled up like parchment. Plus, the storm itself was so bad the church steeple collapsed. Just chaos.
And it didn't end in Bungay, did it?
No, that's the really strange part. The same day, 12 miles away in Blytheborough.
Holy Trinity Church.
That's the one. The hound supposedly appeared there too, killed a man and a boy, and as it left,
They left marks.
deep black scorch marks on the north door. You can still see them today.
Yeah.
They call them the devil's fingerprints.
Wow. So that incident, it must have burned the legend into people's minds as something very real, very dangerous.
Absolutely. It took existing folklore and gave it this terrifying, specific historical anchor. Black Shuck wasn't just a story anymore. It felt like a tangible threat.
So 1577 paints it as completely malevolent, but you mentioned that duality earlier. It's not always bad.
That's what keeps the legend so alive, I think. Yes, mostly it's a death omen. Look into its eyes, someone you know, or maybe you yourself, dies within the year. Its howl means tragedy for the community. That's the common thread. But there are these other stories, quite different. Tales where it appears silently, almost like a guardian.
A guardian, how so?
Protecting lone travelers, especially women, walking home at night. It just appears, walks alongside them, then vanishes when they're safe.
That's unexpected. So less like a demon, more like some ancient neutral force?
Maybe. Elemental is a good word you used earlier. Something powerful, ancient, responding to the situation, not just inherently evil.
So this isn't just some medieval story people forgot about. It actually persists.
Oh, definitely. Sightings continued right through the 20th century. There are accounts from, like, a midwife in the 1930s seeing it. Even into the 2000s, drivers swerving to avoid this huge black dog that then just isn't there.
And it's left its mark on the culture, too, hasn't it?
Absolutely. You find Shuck's Lane, pubs named the Black Shuck. Bungay's coat of arms actually features it. And of course, it famously gave Sir Arthur Conan Doyle the idea for...
The Round of the Baskervilles.
Exactly. Its influence is pretty widespread.
And then there was that discovery a few years back near Blythburgh that caused quite a stir.
Right. Leiston Abbey, 2013. Archaeologists dug up this skeleton of a truly enormous dog.
Enormous how?
Like nearly 7 feet tall if it stood on its hind legs. Weighed maybe 200 pounds. Huge.
So the headlines just went crazy. Black Shuck found.
Pretty much. Legendary hellhound unearthed. That kind of thing. It was everywhere for a bit.
But the science told a different story.
Yeah. Analysis showed it was probably a Great Dane, a very large one, obviously, but likely a beloved pet, buried carefully sometime in the 17th or 18th century.
Ah, okay. Not quite the hellhound then.
No. But it's a perfect example, isn't it? How seeing a real, genuinely intimidating animal like that could easily feed into stories about something monstrous, something supernatural. It shows how fact and folklore get tangled up.
It really does blur those lines. So, as we wrap up our deep dive today, maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. What does it mean that this story, this figure of Black Shuck has lasted so long? This creature that's both terrifying and sometimes protective.
Yeah, what does its persistence tell us about our own deep-seated fears? Fear of the dark, the unknown.
And how do these ancient tales keep influencing how we see the world, even now, still blurring that line between what we think is real and what might just be folklore?